Hello students, welcome to the lecture on HRD strategies, and after the lecture we will be able to learn the following objectives. Explain the generic HR strategy, discuss about the developing a strategic framework, define the HRD system design principles, discuss about the system's approach to HRD, define the design and administration of select HRD system. Let's start with a brief introduction to HRD strategies. Human resource development can assist managers in adopting strategic thinking and can facilitate the implementation of business strategies. The role of human resource staff is changing all the time. The responsibility in the future is to staff projects with people committed to fulfilling business strategy. Human resource functions such as compensation, benefits and recruiting can be outsourced. The judgment, knowledge and foresight needed to staff effectively and efficiently will be the most important role of the human resource manager. Employees need to have a good people skills in every organization. This certainly helps them to relate to customers. It also aids the organization by having a staff that can work well together. Let's now discuss about the generic HR strategies. The HR strategy is concerned with those decisions which have a major and a long-term effect on the employment and development of people in the enterprise and on the relationships which exist between its management and staff. Developing HR strategy. The key requirements of HR strategy are that it should be justified from the business strategy, imaginative and innovative, clear and actionable, selective, focusing on priorities, flexible. Organizing and managing HR strategy development. The HR strategies should be based on the information concerning the business strategy and the plan, including the mission and vision, the external environment with particular reference to the supply of people, demographics and the availability of skills, the internal environment including the implications of product development and new technology, the requirement for increased flexibility and the need for new skills and multi-skilling. The HR issues related to productivity, motivation, communication, commitment, involvement, employee and labor relations, etc. HR strategy areas. Users of this manual should examine specific aspects of HR strategy that collectively form the building blocks of overall HR strategic development. It must be pointed out that no two organizations will face quite the same issues and each will address in its own way those issues that it does face. Nonetheless, it may be helpful to look at some of the issues that have been proven to be successful to other organizations. Broad questions will need to be answered concerning the human resource requirements, how many employees are needed, over what period, what kind of abilities and the skills will be required. Availability. What is available now inside the company? What would be available from inside and outside the company? Retention. What is the company's experience in retaining staff? What are the problems and how can they overcome it? Human resources utilization. How well are human resources used in the company? What is the scope for increasing productivity? Motivation strategy. Motivation strategy will refer to the performance management and the reward systems and in particular to the type and scale of financial incentives which are to be provided. Human resource development and training strategies. A human resource development strategy is concerned with longer-term programs that are needed by an organization to improve the operational performance at all levels in accordance with the additional demands which the business strategy will place on people in the future. Reward strategy. Reward strategy will be concerned with developing a high-performance oriented culture, underpinning the organization's values, especially those relating to excellence, innovations, performance, teamwork and quality. Conveying a message to prospective high-caliber employees that the organization will satisfy their reward expectations. Employee relation strategy. The aim of an employee relations strategy is to develop policies, systems and procedures which maximize the degree to which management and employees will cooperate to their mutual benefit and minimize the causes and effects of unnecessary conflict or restrictive practices. Strategy implementation. Strategy has two aspects: translating the strategy into specific HR objectives, identifying critical success factors and the associated performance indicators to monitor the success of the objectives and the policies in meeting the HR strategy and in fulfilling the business strategy. Marketing HR strategy. The aims of the marketing plan are to build credibility and gain acceptance, to build and maintain a partnership relationship with operational management, add value to operational efforts in pursuit of the enterprise's objectives. Did you know that 70% of the job seekers would prefer working for a medium or a small employer compared to a large company? Let's now talk about the developing a strategy framework. In developing a framework for a human resources strategy, rationalist perspective of strategy formulation has been adopted. It offers a logical framework which we believe is what most practitioners want in order to get started. It is also easier to grasp and comprehend. Thus, our approach to developing strategy starts from the basics. What we do must be relevant to corporate objectives. Consequently, it helps if the organization knows its purpose. In developing any corporate strategy, the approach is to begin by addressing three key strategic questions. Where are we now? Where do we want to be? And how do we get there? The human resources function then has to add two others. What kinds of people skills will be needed to manage and sustain the organization in the future to meet the strategic business objectives? And what human resources programs and initiatives will be needed to deal effectively with the external pressures and the demands affecting the organization?
My business marketing strategy framework, my thought process, I basically work around three main components to plug this together. The first one is categories. I will speak briefly about each of these later on, but the first one is categories. Second, I encourage people to think about segments. So categories, of course, start from the viewpoint of the company. Segments are the marketplace, and the bit which connects the two together are your marketing channels. So first, let's briefly speak about categories, and in future videos I will speak about each of these three components in more detail, but this is just a brief overview. Of course, if you have a product or service, by definition that product or service fits within a particular category of the market. Now, there are various ways that you can actually define the categories. Typically, you could see that if a category will shake out by the definition of its price. So obviously something very expensive, of the same product type versus something very cheap will by definition fall into different categories. So for example, you can get a premium handmade specially selected wooden table, and you can spend thousands and thousands of dollars for this, or you can get something from your local DIY store, mass produced, and spend tens of dollars for that. Different categories of products, and the price is what actually defines the actual category that that product actually fits within in the marketplace. I like to talk about cars when I'm getting people to think about category marketing, because if you say to someone, well, I'm going to buy a car, the next thing you would say, well, what type of car are you going to buy? Are you going to buy a BMW, or are you going to buy a mini car? So cars by fit into different categories, and it's quite simple for business owners to think about what car you drive. Is it a sports utility vehicle, multi-purpose vehicle? Is it a Jeep? To think about this idea of category marketing and to think where your actual product or service fits within the marketplace. Computers is also a good way to get the thought process going when we're speaking about category marketing. Just think about the tablet computing industry, what's happening with tablet computing, which I think is very fascinating. The millions and millions and millions of tablet computers and iPads that's being sold. Well, it's a computing device, but obviously this is in a different category to a laptop or a desktop computer or a supercomputer. So that's category marketing, and all products and services fit within a particular category. And I spend some time to clearly and carefully define where which part of the market category the client's product or service actually fits into. Next, we speak about the marketplace, and I talk about market segmentation. And here I have race, because the population at large readily fits into race. This is one way you can segment the market. There are many ways you can segment the market, but you can segment the market by race, which is readily identifiable, and there are certain things which you would sell to certain segments of the market based upon their race. And just think about this, and this is quite obvious. This will help you to target your message when you're defining your marketing strategy. Age is another convenient segment of the market to actually define your product and service. There are certain products and services which you would want to be selling to the over 50s or to the under 20s. And thinking about this market segmentation will really help, as I said before, to define your process. Geography is another convenient market segment. This could apply to real estate listings and various products we just selling, even to cars. You could be selling your cheap cars to a particular geography, or your expensive cars to people who have very expensive houses. That could be a way to clearly define where you want to position your products or services. So that's market segments, and the two which fits them together is your channels, your channel marketing. It fits the category of your product or service to your market together. It's the bit in the middle of the channels, and we'll go into this a little bit more detail in another lesson. But radio is a channel to market. Of course, radio fits into mainly the promotion, I'd say, channel to market. Of course, when we speak about channel marketing, we want to be thinking about it in two ways. We want to be thinking about your channel to market in terms of promoting your product or service, and also giving the end user clients an option to consume. Now, certain markets you can consume your product through, so you can go into a shop and consume the products, wear the shoes. But if you take fried chicken, for example, you can use a radio clearly to promote your fried chicken, but you can't eat the fried chicken through the radio. You have to go to the establishment. So this idea of channel to market, it should be thought about in terms of promotion and terms of consumption. Of course, with the radio, if you're delivering a service, for example, I have a radio program and I talk about strategies and all these different concepts, and I'm actually delivering through the radio. So the clients are actually consuming the service through the radio. So this is convenient thing about what you're using your channel for promotion or for consumption, or for both. And one of my favorite topics, I have a full 2-day seminar on this, is distribution. The whole concept of distributing your products and services through channel partners to get your products and service actually to the end user marketplace. And of course, the more layers you have within the channel, the more possibly your message gets diluted. And so that's why we have to carefully manage our distribution channel.
Integrated human resource strategy development and facilitation. An effective human resource strategy derives from and is aligned with our business or corporate strategy and strategic plan. It emerges from a systematic process of human resource strategy development, which integrates appropriate competitive intelligence data, best practices, and strategic situational challenges. Integrated human resource strategy development process. Integrated HR strategy development process, fundamentally based on our FEDAR system, helps us create the strategic human capital base and human resource strategy to ensure the future of the organization. The process of effective development of human resource strategy integrates insightful SWOT strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threat analysis reflective of business strategy, the HR implications of the business strategy, and the behavioral and synergistic factors for strategic HR plan implementation. HR strategy facilitation. Our key people in various business units are best positioned to own HR strategic plan through the human resource strategy facilitation process. The HR strategy facilitation process involves key people in roundtables, data feedback, and action planning session on strategic HR issues underpinning business or corporate strategy. Did you know that the first personnel development of human resource management came in the early 20th century? Let's now take a look on the HRD system design principles. There have been many queries regarding the principles of human resource development. Many a times we get confused between principles and the functions of HRD. However, there is a clear-cut distinction between the two. The HRD are the main functions of training, personal development, organizational development, career planning and development, and change management. The following principles related to focus, structure, and functioning should be considered when designing integrated HRD system. Focus on enabling the capabilities. The primary purpose of HRD is to help the organization to increase its enabling capabilities. These include development of human resources, development of organizational health, improvement of the problem-solving capabilities, development of diagnostic ability so that the problems can be located quickly and effectively, and increased employee productivity and commitment. Balancing adaptation and change in the organizational culture. Although HRD systems are designed to suit the organizational culture, the role of HRD may be to modify that culture to increase the effectiveness of the organization. There always has been a controversy between those who believe that HRD should be designed to suit the culture and those who believe that HRD should be able to change the culture. Both positions seem to be extreme. The HRD should take the organization forward, and this can be done only if its design anticipates change and evolution in the future. Attention to contextual factors. What is to be included in the HRD systems? How is it to be subdivided? What designations and titles will be used? And similar issues should be settled after consideration of the various contextual factors of the organization, its culture and tradition, size, technology, the levels of existing skills, available support for the function, availability of outside help, and so on. Building linkages with other functions. Human resource development systems should be designed to strengthen other functions in the company, such as long-range corporate planning, budgeting and finance, marketing, production, and other similar functions. These linkages are extremely important. Balancing specialization and diffusion of the functions. Although HRD involves specialized functions, line people should be involved in various aspects of HRD. Action is the sole responsibility of the line people, and HRD should strengthen their roles, ensuring respectability for the function. In many companies, the personnel function does not have much credibility because it is not perceived as a major function within the organization. It is necessary that HRD be instituted at a very high level in the organization and that the head of the HRD department is classified as a senior manager. Both the credibility and the usefulness of HRD depend on this. Balancing differentiation and integration. The human resource development function often includes personal administration, human resource development and training, and industrial relations, establishing the linkage mechanisms. The HRD has linkages with outside systems as well as with the internal subsystems. It is wise to establish specific linkages to be used to manage the system. Standing committees for various purposes with membership from various parts and levels of the organization, task force, ad hoc committees for specified tasks are useful mechanisms. Developing monitoring mechanisms. The HRD function is always evolving. It therefore requires systematic monitoring to review the progress and the level of effectiveness of the system and to plan for its next step. A thorough annual review reappraisal every 3 years will be invaluable in reviewing and planning the system. Did you know that talent management is a term that emerged in the 1990s to incorporate developments in human resources management, which placed more of an emphasis on the management of human resources or talent? Let's move on to the next topic, which is system approach to HRD. The HRD concept is a very broad term and it is to be understood well before it is adopted. It is systems approach to manage human beings in the organizational context. HRM and competitive advantage. Competitive advantages refers to the ability of an organization formulate strategies to exploit rewarding opportunities, thereby maximizing its return on investment. Competitive advantages occur if customers perceive that they receive value from the transaction with an organization. Now let's explore the design and the administration of the select HRD system. The emerging trends in HR administration. Change is the only constant factor in this dynamic world and corporate sector is not an exception. The changes starting in the face of corporate sectors relates to the fundamental way of corporate sector, which is undergoing rapid transformation in the world of today. HRD practices in corporate sector: staff meetings, brainstorming sessions, quality circles. Staff meetings. Staff meetings aims at group synergy, team building, open culture, family feeling and talent recognition, which individually and cumulatively benefit the organization. Goal targets set for the unit corporate sector is discussed in the monthly staff meetings conducted at all branch units, and action plans are drawn in achieving them. Brainstorming sessions. This is a technique for generating ideas and suggesting on topics of relevance, and also to provide alternate solutions to problems by stimulative thinking and imaginative power of cross-section of employees. Quality Circle is a time-tested tool of total quality management (TQM), which promotes team spirit, cohesive quality work culture, commitment and involvement of the employees. Challenges. As most part of the jobs in this industry is monotonous, repetitive and routine, the HRD department has to empower, engage and energize employees to create effectiveness and efficiency through motivation. Organizational structures, systems and procedures are facilitators of these, and there is a need to focus greater attention on these aspects by the industry. The aim of HR planning is to address issues before they become difficulties for the organization. The corporate sector was the preferred employer for the educated persons in the country in addition to civil services. Recommendations. Several institutions in the country catered exclusively to the need of human resources development in corporate sector industry. There is a need to adopt global best practices in financial sector regulation and supervision and adapt them to the domestic environment. This largely depends on the functioning and the policies of public institutions. It is increasingly subject to public discussion and debate. This calls for greater transparency, more effective communication, and a high degree of professionalism in the corporate sector staff are the need of the hour. Continuous upgradations of human resources management strategies with a view to enhancing the level of knowledge, sharpening the skills, and also to important the necessary and work culture must be installed. Certain improvements can be made in the recruitment practices as well as in the training and redeployment of already employed. Incentive structures need to be conceived, supported by appropriate training and motivations, which aligns the employee's goals and orientations with the core competencies and the strategic advantages of the institution. This service sector has to explore the feasibility of entering into collaborative arrangements. Information technology is an area where human resources development is critically, fortunately, and spirit of cooperation. Now in the end, let us summarize what we have learned in this chapter. The HR strategy is concerned with those decisions which have a major and a long-term effect on the employment and the development of the people in the enterprise and also on the relationships. The primary purpose of HRD is to help the organization to increase its enabling capabilities. The HRD systems are designed to suit the organizational culture. The role of HRD may be to modify that culture to increase the effectiveness of the organization. Effective integration of HR strategy is best achieved if the HR director is closely involved at top management level with the formulation of the business strategy. A system is a set of interrelated but separate elements or parts working towards a common goal. A human resource development strategy is concerned with the long-term programs that are needed by an organization to improve the operational performances at all levels.